Hi, and welcome back to SOS Stories of Survivors. I'm your host, Serina Dansker, and today's episode is one that's especially close to my heart because we're hearing from the next generation of the Self-Love Club. There's 5 incredible young women who've grown up in a world far different from the world I grew up in, and it changes faster than you can even imagine. These girls represent courage, authenticity, and hope. Not only have they navigated their adolescence through social media and smartphones, but they also navigated through a pandemic, which rocked all of our worlds. So joining me today is Lexi Dansker, 21, wise beyond her years, and a voice of compassion and self-awareness. Michaela Gleason, 15, thoughtful, creative, and determined to make a difference. Chloe Gleason, bold, intuitive, and never afraid to speak her truth. We have Amanda Johansson, who's 20, grounded, kind-hearted, and driven. And Elena Johansson is insightful, resilient, and full of radiant energy. Together, they're the Soul Sisters Rising, the next generation of young women who remind us that even through uncertainty, love, courage, and community can carry us through. We're going to talk all about what it was like growing up, what they wish they knew about mental health, and because these are the voices of tomorrow, they're going to speak from their heart today. And without further ado, I'd like to just get in and ask the question, what was the hardest part about being a teenager during the pandemic and growing up with cell phones and social media?
Well, I'll start. I think it's interesting because since we're all different ages, we kind of have different perspectives. As Amanda and I were both in high school during the pandemic. And when were y'all?
We were in elementary school.
Yeah,
Or,
I was in 6th grade.
Oh,
yeah, we were in 4th and 5th.
Right.
Yeah.
So we had elementary school and middle school and high school. At least for me, I found like the pandemic was, it was very hard because I feel like, especially in high school, you know, you're finally starting to become like who you are and you're starting to figure yourself out. And when things are shut down, you know, everything changes.
Right, like when I
So-
was in high school, I would go to the movies or I'd go to the mall and I would go meet people. And you couldn't do that, right?
No.
Yeah, I think it was also pretty different being in elementary school just because I feel like what was more of like a social gap in high school and elementary school is more of like an education
learning gap.
Yeah, like it was at a time where a lot of people like they just blanked out during that time. So like even though we were doing work, we weren't really like learning too much, I guess, because at the time like you can't be like 10 and teaching yourself how to do like multiplication.
Right, so were you actually in school or were you home for a while or was it both? Did you?
It was
We were at home at first for a while.
Yeah.
And then when we went back to school, they had like all these plexiglasses on the desks.
And it
And
was
they'd
every
have
other
2
day.
days where one day this group of kids would go in, the other day the other kid.
How did that affect your friendships though? Like
It was like you didn't see the other kids.
It
Like
also-
the other kids would be on Zoom on the days that you're in school,
Oh
so
my
you
God.
wouldn't see the other
So your best
kids.
friend could be on Zoom when you're in class.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, actually, my best friend now, we were close in like 2nd grade and still close now, but we were in the same class in 5th grade, but during 5th grade, you're supposed to like interact with the other classes, but I didn't see her until like probably 7th grade of middle school because it's just like besides our family meeting together, like there was no social events where you could like openly see other people.
Yeah,
Wow.
and I forgot what I was gonna say.
That's
I
okay.
just remember like waiting all day to go to basketball practice because I would be able to see all of my friends because we did the same thing. It was like 2 separate cohorts and like a group would go in one day and the next group would go in the next. And like I'd wait all day to go to basketball practice so I could see my teammates.
But at least
and, like,
they,
my group of
yeah, at
friends.
least they still let you play sports,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that was crazy. What about middle school? How was that, Elena?
Well, I was just in a classroom for like the same group of people for like the entire year.
Wow. Did you all have to wear masks?
Yeah, it
So,
was like
yeah, is that weird?
it was like I had a class of 12 because half the grade like you had a choice to either go online or come in person, and most of us chose to go in person, but like I didn't see any of my grade until like 8th grade.
Wow. How do you think that impacted, you know, your social life, you know?
It definitely changed it, because I feel like if we were able to hang out with everyone like in my grade, that like my friends would be much different than they are now, because there's a lot of like forced friendships.
Yeah, I was going to say, how did it change your school, your friendships, even the way you see the world? Because you weren't going out and doing things, right?
Yeah, and when we were in elementary school, when you're in 5th grade, like it's supposed to be like a transitional period into middle school. Like you start like walking to different classes and being in different classes with different teachers. And when COVID happened, like we didn't have any of that. We just stayed in one classroom.
And the teachers would come in. And also, it was very, like, you weren't meeting any new people. Like, we went into middle school and stuff, like, after it all. But, like, even then, it was just kind of very select on, like, who your parents knew, who they, like, trusted. Like, you couldn't meet new people. You couldn't have, like, new friendships and stuff, like, in person. And I feel like it was just very, like, isolating, obviously.
But I also feel like the people, because I remember having close friends who would come over and we'd go online together. So those people like that you were really close with, you got like really close with.
Yeah, it was like, I had a friend and she would come over and we'd just stare at the same computer all day because we had the same classes. And it made it very like hard to like, it made also everything a lot more like clickier, like a lot of groups were formed.
Got really clicky.
It was like made like that's who you hung out with for like 2 straight years, and it's like you can't just go to mixing with that.
I think it's also important to mention that before classes and everything, you had like 2 weeks where there was just no school.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, great, like vacation, no school. But then it was a little bit scary because there was this kind of bit of the unknown, like, am I ever going to get to go back to school? Like, and especially when there was the 2 weeks off, a lot of people tended to go on social media a lot. And I think that might have impacted a lot of people's mental health and was a struggle for some people because you're stuck behind a phone all day. You have nothing to do all day except scroll. So I think that was difficult for some people for sure.
I also think it kind of forced us to like get on social media sooner because like if I didn't have social media, like I wouldn't be able to talk to any of my friends from other classes besides like Zoom, or like it was just the only way to really like have a social interaction as well.
Do you think anything good came out of this? Like something you learned about yourself or your generation?
I think it gave a lot of people time to like there's this thing that happens when like a creature is in a habitat with no predators. It grows, like it just like it becomes like really big, or like
There's nothing to check of it.
Yeah, when I feel like we were isolated, you weren't going out constantly, like people weren't looking at you, weren't feeling like judged and stuff. So again, I think it gave a lot of time for people to make like maybe questionable like clothing choices or just like hairstyles.
What about like the whole bullying or like did you find that online? Did that stop a little bit or was it the same or?
I don't know. I've never really had an experience.
Yeah, I think we were still a little too young for like that part of it because we didn't like look at.
What about the older girls?
Do you want to take this one?
You can go first.
I think the biggest thing that the pandemic, for at least older people, is you kind of almost, I guess for everybody, had to grow up a little bit faster. I think it really did take away from your childhood. I mean, one of like the craziest memories I have from the pandemic is when it was starting to end, I babysat this maybe like 2-year-old girl. And she literally, when we would pretend and play school, and she would wear like, she would basically, she'd get her school things, she'd get her backpack, she'd get, her pencil case, and she'd be like, oh, wait, I need my mask.
Oh, boy.
Because it was such a, thing, like she thought like that's like a requirement,
Of school.
So
Wow.
I just think for everybody, like it just, you had to learn like later on how to socialize and do things. So it set some people back, but in other ways, you had to grow up a little bit.
I think it's interesting for us specifically just because our town is very small and my graduating high school class was only about like 90 people. So everyone got very, very close. And especially moving into my senior year, we were all very close. And like, it wasn't like that before the pandemic, definitely. And as for online bullying, I don't think that I know it's very different in a lot of other places, but I think that for me at least, I didn't really notice
That's a good
anything.
thing, right?
Yeah, and I don't. Yeah, like it wasn't anything more than it was, or
I mean,
anything
and
like that.
what do you think one of the hardest things about being a teenager during the pandemic was? Was, anything that you wish, could have been different, or did it
I
affect prom, or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember when we were like in the thick of it. I was a sophomore in high school, and I had friends who were in classes above me, and we all went to prom together, and it was like outside, like in a beautiful like rented out space with like a nice tent and everything. And I had a great time, but it was definitely a lot different than flash forward to my senior year when we're like all inside, like close quarters, like definitely a lot different, but I wouldn't say it was like a bad experience at all.
Good.
My
good.
junior year prom actually got canceled because
Really?
of the pandemic.
I remember
And
that.
it was very different with senior year, and there was just so many changes because of the pandemic. And me personally, I struggled a lot with body image during the pandemic because, as I was saying earlier about the social media, when you're scrolling and you keep seeing things online and all this stuff that's, edited and things, it can sometimes be difficult to really, determine like what's real and what's not and what's online. So that was a
Sure,
big struggle
there's
for me.
always been like that. Even when I was growing up, I mean, the magazines showed that, you didn't realize they were all edited to let these women look like amazingly, and you always had body images, and I could see scrolling could do that to you too. What about you, Elena? What was hard for you?
Like the hardest part was probably like cuz I was with like the same 12 people, like I did not talk to anyone who was not those 12 people. Like I lost contact with some of the friends I've had since kindergarten, but obviously like I grew back into contact with them when it ended, but like for that time period I really only had those 12 people.
Wow. How about anybody else?
I think it was definitely very interesting just because like we were literally never more than like 10 feet apart, whether it's like in school or just anything. And I think it also like it caused to like just when you're like being forced, like I love Chloe very much and stuff, but like just when you're being forced, like I'm sure anyone with a sister knows when you're forced to like hang out with someone, it can cause like almost like identity like issues.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
I didn't
maybe
have any
not for
identity
you, but it's
issues.
like we were like together for like 2 years, and then it's like we get to middle school, we don't have any classes together, we don't see each other until lunch, and then the only thing we had was like swim, and it was just like for me it was weird because it was like I would talk to her, like maybe not talk, but we would like I don't know, maybe even argue like during this whole time and stuff, and then it was just like we just didn't talk in middle school because I think it was like that freedom, but it was also like a breath of fresh air.
Right.
For me, when like we came back, like I loved it. Like I flourished. Like I loved being around people. Like I'm really extroverted. But I remember like we didn't talk.
Yeah, we
Like,
didn't talk
didn't
until
talk
like
at all.
literally last year.
Until like
maybe
8th grade, maybe.
end of 8th grade.
Yeah.
When you look back, do you find that odd?
It was
or
just kind of like we were like there with each other,
Right,
but it
'cause
wasn't like
you already had
Also,
the connection.
we had like even at home, like there's a lot more things going on.
it was
so
just kind of like we were there, we were living together, but we weren't. It didn't feel like as close as sisters.
I still
should.
think we were still like there for each other and stuff when we needed it, but it wasn't like I don't know.
We didn't learn how to become friends yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
because
All
it
right.
was just being like
You
forced
worked
to
you worked
be.
side by side. You were doing things together, but not together at
Yeah,
the same
separate
time. Right.
but simultaneous.
Interesting. If you could say what you wish adults understood about you being your age right now today, because there's a lot of misconceptions that sometimes people of my generation we grew up differently than you did. Do you have something where you wish you could say to an adult, I wish you'd understand right now what it's like to be me at this age? What would you say?
I've actually had this conversation with my brother. Just he's not that much older, but it's very different just because like even though we only have a 6-year age gap and stuff, but it's still like very different and stuff. And I just think it's like not just for my brother, but just like adults in general. I think it's like hard for them to understand that like like their thought of a childhood and stuff is nowhere near the same as ours anymore. Like we probably still all played and stuff, but like it's very different now, where like the majority of like, I feel like any kid below like 8th grade is like dependent on like whether it's their phone or the internet. And then also we were told to only stay on the internet, and that's how we communicated and learned and stuff. And now it's like we're getting back and people are like shunning us for being like so close to these things and stuff.
Or
And
like
honestly,
being online.
Interesting.
but it was kind of like
What do you?
like we were forced to like kind of be hooked onto them, and then it's kind of just like they expected us to be like mature enough, I guess, to just like withdraw from them. But like it's like we didn't know how to do that. Like no one taught us
Yeah.
how to do that. Or
That's a
anything.
really good point.
And with social media being such a big like way of communication between everyone, there's so many unspoken rules that come along with using these different social media platforms that are so hard to explain to someone that doesn't use them.
Yeah.
So it's like very like little kind of like
Nuances.
unimportant things, but like everyone thinks about them like subconsciously.
Yeah.
And like trying to explain that to someone who doesn't.
My generation,
Yes.
yeah. We're like, what?
Yeah.
That's so funny. Anybody else want to add
If-
anything?
What was the question again? The exact
It's
question?
just if you what you wish adults understood about being your age right now.
I just it's not that they understood. I just wish that they saw us how they saw like equal, like, you
Ooh,
know,
be seen.
because I've like with a lot of like teachers in my school or just adults that I've dealt with are kind of like on a power trip. Like they have unchecked
Well,
power.
that's
and they're
really interesting that you say that. See, when I grew up, the generation, my parents' generation, were much older, and they would be of the mindset that children should be seen and not heard from.
Mhm.
So whatever, even though I had valid points or valid ideas, it was discounted. It wasn't taken seriously. And now, as you say, they get on a power trip, some of these, parents or teachers, and maybe they don't see you. They don't let your voice actually,
Yeah, they
be
kind of like
heard.
okay, they're
Yeah.
kind of just like okay, whatever, like, you know.
they just yes you to death.
Mhm.
Like Lexi said before, like everyone was kind of forced to grow up faster, and I feel like a lot of kids were like expected to have the maturity of like adults or of older people, but they were still expected to be a kid. Like I know I've been like, oh, you're just a kid, you don't understand this and stuff, but then again it's like we're almost like subconsciously expected to understand it, because if we're not understanding it, we're being too young or we're being too immature. But then it's kind of like a weird, like especially at like the age I am now and stuff, I feel like it's a very weird in between of being like you're expected to act and behave like an adult, but you're also your views are still going to be viewed as a kid.
And you're not given those responsibilities or
Yeah.
that freedom that an adult or someone
Yeah.
older would get, but yet you're still expected to act in a certain
Yeah.
way. It's hard. It's hard growing up. I mean, it was hard growing up. I would not want to go back to those years at all. And adding cell phones and social media. I mean, when I was growing up, and if there were something going on at school or whatever, somebody was, spreading rumors about you, or calling you, giving you prank calls, you took your phone off the hook and you disconnected, and they couldn't get through to you. But you don't have that ability now. Now it just follows you continuously, and that's hard. Have you guys ever felt pressure to be okay when you weren't?
There's a lot of stigma around not being okay. I feel like now there's a greater mental health like movement, and I feel like now like people can say like it's okay to say you're not okay, but a lot of people I think struggle with the fact that okay, if I'm not okay, well, what do I do about it? You know?
Good
So-
point.
Yeah, and I feel like people ask you like, oh, are you to check in on you? But I lost my train of thought.
Oh, that's okay, honey.
I also think it's a lot easier to like hide now. Like before, like if someone was really like, I'm sure it's always been like very easy to blend in with the crowd, but like even more so now, like it's just like everyone, like you said, the bigger movement and stuff, everyone's coming out about it and stuff, and I feel like it's a lot easier for kids who like need desperate help to just kind of fall in with the rest of the people and like maybe not be as like helped as they need.
Yeah, a lot of people, they fake it till they make it too. It's like you're not okay. Well, I'll pretend. I'll be the loud kid. I'll be the class clown, and I'll, just hide what I'm struggling with. And sometimes the signs that people are struggling, you can't really notice them.
I actually had this experience online where I had sense of information get out, and it was really hard for me to just act because people would always ask me or bully me or make jokes about it and make fun of me for it, and it was online, so it was really hard because I'd go into school, and this was in middle school, so it was just terrible. The kids, they're not nice in middle school.
No.
So it was I think it affected me a lot.
Was there someone that you were able to talk to, or
I didn't talk to anyone at this time.
you kept
no one
it
knew
in?
about it.
And
Yeah.
and looking back, if you could go back and tell that middle school person, can you give advice now looking back on it, what would you tell her?
I just think I would just say continue what you're doing, because I went, and during that time I was just kind of I'll ignore everyone who says anything and just continue with myself. I'm not gonna engage in arguments or conversations about it. I'm just gonna continue. It's gonna blow over.
That's
and
so mature.
it did end up blowing over, but
People
aren't people would still bring it up sometimes.
Yeah.
It also blows over for everyone else, but you're still not for you.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. It's there's a lot to be said for, self-love and self-reflection. And I've learned, it's taken me over 50 years to learn this, but we are the hardest on ourselves. We are fast to forgive somebody else who did something to wrong us, but we are so reluctant to forgive ourselves or give ourselves grace and realize, hey, we're not perfect. It is a journey. We're learning one step at a time to move forward in this crazy world that we live in, and adapt. And I'm just curious, do you guys have coping skills or outlets that help make, when life feels overwhelming, which you do?
My best coping is probably going out with my friends, just hanging out with them or them coming over to me. I would say is the best. I don't have too many hobbies other than swimming, so probably just hanging out with my friends. They make me feel the best.
That's good. Community. Yeah.
I would also say the same, or I would probably say I like to bake a lot, so I'll bake something maybe, or give that out, or even reading. Anything that kind of just takes your mind, especially now, anything that takes your mind off of how just the world we're in, it kind of, I feel that helps sometimes.
That's great. Yeah. I love reading too.
Yeah, I feel I really do try and keep myself busy, and just constantly having something to do, I think really helps, just to kind of immerse myself in something so I'm not spiraling in my own head.
Yes.
But I also did recently start therapy, so I've been speaking with a therapist, and that honestly really helps. And it's funny the way that you were talking about we're always so hard on ourselves and we don't forgive ourselves, because it's a recent conversation I had with my therapist.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I kind of just need a reset, so I'll just lay down and go to sleep.
Yeah, that's a great way. What about you?
I got into powerlifting, especially because I was struggling with body image during the pandemic. That was a new outlet for me, where I decided, why am I sitting here trying to starve myself? I don't want to be skinny and weak. I want to be strong.
Ooh.
And so I started getting into that and weightlifting and powerlifting, and it's become this empowering thing that I do that really it releases my stress, and it's a really positive outlet for me.
I think that's amazing. I love that, the strength, you feel strong. There's something to be said for that, we are stronger than we think, that, right? We're resilient. We're powerful in our own ways. And sometimes it takes longer to realize all the cool things about yourself, but they do emerge. Let me ask you a fun question about magic wands and superpowers. If you had a magic wand and you could change one thing in the world, what what would it be? Anything. It's a magic wand, remember.
I would change like the thought of like being different. Like that being different is bad. Like
Yeah.
that, or being different, seeing something different is scary. Because I think literally like all like a lot of conflicts in the world today is just from people being scared of different people.
Mm-hmm. Good
So,
point.
yeah.
I like that.
I feel like that's a very big question because I feel like the world has a lot of things, but I feel like if I had to choose one thing, like Chloe said, it's just like seeing people as being human. Like I feel like now it's like very easy to just disregard someone as, I don't know, being something else that you're not familiar with, that you're just like, we're like not the same, but at the end of the day, we all bleed red, and
Yes.
it's like we're all people. So
Really important. That's true. Anybody else want to add anything? Magic wand, waving it. I would if I could, I'd change the world. I think I'd want people to realize that we're all connected.
Yes.
You know, and it doesn't hurt to say a kind thing. I've recently, I mean, you know, I've always thought kind things about people on the street. Like, let's say I saw a woman walking and I really liked her dress. In the past, I wouldn't say anything. I would just, you know, so you think it. But like the other day, I was at Costco and this woman just looked beautiful. And so I rolled down my car window as I'm pulling out and I said, "Hey, you look beautiful." And she was so like, you could just see her light up. And she's like, "Thank you, God bless you." And just that little act didn't cost me anything to do. And it just made her day, you know? And I think if I had a magic wand, I'd make everybody in the world just recognize that and say what's on their mind.
That's a good point, but I honestly don't think necessarily you need a magic wand. I don't know if you've heard of these movements where people will write a positive message on a sticky note and just hand it to someone. Like little kind of steps like that, I think people can already do that will already make a difference. So you don't even need a magic wand for that.
That would be amazing. So amazing.
One thing I'd also change is it's not bad to be kind. Like a lot of people think it's like embarrassing to like put yourself out there, be nice to people, because they want to be like nonchalant. And I don't think that's something
they're trying to be
get
cool,
rid of.
right?
I think we also just need more like empathy. Like I feel like it's very easy, like I said, to just like see someone as someone else, but we just all have to like put ourselves in someone
Like you never know what
else's
else someone's going through.
Yeah, and also it's just like no matter what you've been through, like I never think it's an excuse to like take it out on other people, because we can't like change like what happens to us, but the only thing that we can change is like how we like react to it.
Oh my God, that's such a great point. And again, 50 years it took me to realize that, you know, other people, you can't control them. You can only control how you react to them. And sometimes by changing how you react to them, it kind of takes some of the dynamic and changes it a little bit. Anybody else want to add anything? All right. Let's go on to, if you had a superpower, or what do you think your superpower is? The thing that makes you strong, unique, or capable of helping others?
I can start. I would consider myself very empathetic, but I think that sometimes my empathy can be to a fault, which is something that I am working on. I think that it's important that I really feel everything, but at times, sometimes it can be difficult because, you know, like I really do put myself in other people's shoes, and sometimes that can be a lot to take on and a lot.
So
to
it is a
handle.
superpower to be empathetic, but at the same time, you need to have something where you can protect yourself.
I need a shield.
Yes, you need a shield. That's great. I love that.
I think like it kind of goes along with Lexi's. Like I'm very forgiving, like over people, but like a con to that would be like you have to be forgiving with the right people, because if you keep forgiving the same person for the same mistake over and over again, it's never going to change and you just hurt yourself.
That's good. That's really good. Amanda, anyone?
I would say my superpower is I'm very ambitious, I would say, just in my like personal and like professional life.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's great. Do you girls want to talk about your superpowers?
I would say I think I'm very extroverted, and like I'm good at getting people like out of their like shell, or like just like getting more comfortable when I'm meeting new people.
That's awesome.
I think like Amanda said, just like ambitions and like dreaming big is like something that like is very important.
I like that. I really do. Okay, well, let's just take it one more step. If all 5 of you formed a team of superheroes, what would the team be called?
I was thinking about this in the car. And I couldn't like.
I don't know.
How about the Fabulous 5?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's what I would call you. I love that. Oh my God. So let's look ahead, and let's talk about what gives you hope about the future. Do you guys,
Yeah, just like being happy and having my cat. Like I don't know.
That's nice. The little things.
Yeah, just knowing that like no matter like 20 years from now, I'm still gonna be somewhere, and like it's gonna be important that I'm there in that moment.
I love that.
I like just setting small goals for myself.
Mm.
Like next week, I have an interview at a job at school.
Hey, that's
So
awesome.
I'm like just looking forward to things like that. Like really keep me going. Just like small victories like that.
That's so important.
I think it's a little bit scary, like at the age I'm at, because I'm just about to graduate college, and your whole life, you kind of get told like you're supposed to go to school, you're supposed to maybe go to college, but once you're like out of that and you kind of like step into the real world, there's so many different directions you can go, but like it's kind of to look at a positive outlook. It's exciting
Yeah.
because there's so many different paths you can go and things you can do.
But it's scary
So-
at the same time because
absolutely.
what if you choose the wrong thing? Are you stuck there for the rest of your life? And the answer to that is no. You can always pivot, and you can always change, and you can always make different decisions, and change your course at any time. If you could send a message to other teens that might be struggling right now, what would you want to say?
I would say you're not alone. Like, you're not alone. Like, it feels really lonely sometimes, and like, even though people like would say this, like, it's really hard to comprehend that you're not alone. But
Yeah.
like, you really aren't. Like, there's always someone you can talk to or reach out to. Like, there's millions of programs, and like, you're never alone. Even though it can be really, really hard to like ask for help or just accept it sometimes. So
Yeah.
I'd probably say like I say this to myself and like other people, like no matter like what the outcome, like the sun will still rise the next day, and
Yeah.
like the only thing you can do is just keep going, and you're gonna get through it. Like you said, you're not alone. You're gonna find your people.
Sometimes during the storm, right, you have to walk through it to see the rainbow.
I think it's very easy too for people, myself, I feel like everyone just get so caught up in their own thing and what's going on with them, and very like just like caught up with themselves. And I think it's important to take a step back and get a little bit of perspective, because it could always be worse. Your
Mhm.
situation could always be worse.
being like the gratitude, like I think gratitude is really important.
Yeah. And
Mm.
like being thankful just for what you have right now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, mine kind of piggybacks off of hers. Like, I feel like everyone like thinks that like if like when they're like feeling down or like in a state of like overwhelmingness, like they feel like there's nothing else like that can be done, and that's just so far from the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say just, check in on people, because people could seem okay when they're not.
Yeah.
It's okay to be not okay, and it's okay to not know what to do when you're not okay, but also it is okay to get help.
Yeah.
It is not only okay, it is important. And if you are not okay, like, it is like a good thing to go get
Yeah,
help.
I mean, sometimes you're in the throes of it, you're in the thick of it, and you're surrounded by like, the worst thing that could happen to you in your life, and you're in this pain, and you don't realize that you've been through hard things before, and you've gotten through it, and even though it seems like there's no resolve in sight, there is. You just got to put sometimes one small step in front of the other to get through it, and eventually you get through it. It's definitely an interesting lesson. So in the center of the table, I put some rocks down, and they're face down. On the other side of the rock, there's like a little message on there. And so pick up whatever rock you want and just see what the message is, and then just whatever's calling you, you choose. All right. So who wants to start with what their rock says?
Mine says you rock.
And you do, Chloe. What does that mean to you?
I think it just means you're awesome.
Yeah, you are.
Mine says courage.
Wow. What does that mean to you?
Just like, just do it. Like you only live once. Like
Just do it.
no, just like follow what you want to do. Like don't do like what's realistic.
Yeah. Have courage, right? Fear and courage are really close together. The closest thing to fear is having the courage to do it, right?
Mine says balance.
Wow.
And to me, I think this just means kind of like finding the balance between like caring for yourself and then also being there for the people around you. That's like the first thing that comes to mind.
I think
I love
balance
that.
is like so much in life, like also with
Yeah.
like personal life and professional work, or like I think it's everything.
Yeah. What do you have?
Mine says inspire.
Oh, I like that. What do you think that means to you?
Like I don't know, inspire to be your best self.
I love
Like, you
that.
always want to be your best.
Yeah.
Or inspire other people.
Or
Yeah.
inspire other people. Yeah.
Mine says gratitude, and I think I'm very grateful in my life, but this just reminds me to continue to be grateful that, just with everything in my
Yeah.
life.
I start every day thanking the universe. I'm just grateful. I'm here. I have another day. It's a beautiful day. I have a beautiful community, friends, and my health and family. And I think that's wonderful. I wanted to just thank you guys for sharing all of your thoughts, and your courage and your wisdom and your knowledge is just amazing. And I like to end each of my shows with a poem from Scott, my son. And the one I chose today is called Embracing My True Self. And it says, for the first time in a long time, I can say I'm happy. Nobody's snappy, catty, overzealously chatty. The person I used to be wasn't me. It wasn't the best I could be. I let my demons consume me. Bad thoughts constantly pursued me. I was a fool to believe that I could be anybody else but myself. It took some time and encouragement from the people I loved to realize the person I am is better than the person I want to be, the person everyone said I should be, the person I was encouraged to be. It wasn't me. I love myself and the people who surround me, the people who care for me and want me to be the best I can be. Relationships, platonic or not, have a balance that people constantly challenge to make their lives better for themselves and no one else. But who wants a friend that only cares for themselves when there's so much more to yourself? You are the person who you need the most, see the most, and not even weed can boast that true self, that new self, that construed self. So look in the mirror and stop judging your wealth or your health. See the positive of yourself because you are the best on top of anyone else's shelf. And if anyone tries to drag you down, you pull them up and hand them your crown. Yeah, Scott had a way with words.
Yeah, I like that one.
It's true because what it's saying is, you're awesome just the way you are. And, never doubt that. Never forget who you are. Never forget where you come from. And, if you see someone else trying to knock you down, you just say, dude, I'm cool. Let me help you show you how cool you can be, And thank you so much for trusting us with your voices. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
you guys remind us that even in struggle, a new generation carries the light forward. And to our viewers, thank you so much for being here with us. SOS Stories of Survivors, where survival sparks the soul. We'll see you next week. Take care now.
Bye.